Well, I'm going to sit back today and tell you a little story, so enjoy the beautiful colors that are flowing before your eyes and the music playing in the background. And I'm going to tell you a story about me that came up within my mind, memories, based upon an article that I saw in Future Health Online e-zine by a neurologist. It actually was a transcription of a video of a neurologist talking about his research into trauma and how the brain works, etc. While I actually know that and actually teach some of it, part of the transcription I found extremely interesting in the developing brain of the infant, because this person, this neurologist, says that a face-to-face attunement with a baby after it's born at a distance of 10 inches or so, in other words, the mother's eye to the breast distance, is very important in the development of the right orbital frontal cortex. So this would be the place where decisions are made about how an organism responds to threat messages from the amygdala. It goes on to say that an individual lacking adequate neural development in this region, as a result of poor social attunement to the mother, will not be able to accurately judge threat levels of incoming messages, and will, in extreme cases, regard every threat as one to his or her existence. I'm going to put a link to this particular article in my newsletter, so for those of you who receive my newsletter, you'll have access to it, and you can read the 3-page article yourself. What I found very interesting was, after reading this article, I began to think about my birth and my childhood, and reflect upon it from the standpoint of how I see life right now versus that which I hear from so many people about how life appears to them based upon the traumas they experienced in their earth, based upon the traumas that they experienced in their youth. So we're going to talk a little bit about my memories here from the basis of what I experienced in that 10-inch distance. First of all, as you are probably very well aware, most of the babies who are alive now, who are grown-ups, were born at a time when the medical profession decided that a mother should be spinally blocked and the baby should be literally pulled out of the mother. I have the forceps indentations in my skull as I speak, and whisked away to some kind of sterile environment to be cleaned, etc. And that was my birthing process. But the interesting part about that birthing process was that I came out of a womb that had been damaged by a previous marriage my mother had been in, where the ex-husband did not want children and actually kicked her in her stomach when she was pregnant, killing the fetus and damaging the womb. So my mother was told by the doctors then that there wasn't anything they could do, and that if the uterus was going to realign itself, it had attached itself to her spinal column. If it was going to realign itself, it would do it on its own. And she found through horseback riding that this assisted the process, and she did get pregnant with me. And yet we know that the cellular memory within the womb holds the trauma of the attack from the ex-husband. So I was born in the medical world of pull the baby out with the forceps and whisk it away from the mother. And to top it all off, my mother did not breastfeed me, so I never did have the 10-inch attunement process that this neurologist is talking about. And because we lived in a world that was sort of dynasty-based, if you want to reflect upon the Dynasty series that was on television years ago, that was the world I was raised in. That's the world I was birthed into. My mother had a nurse and a maid, and the nurse fed us so that my mother wouldn't have to bottle feed us. And we were simply bathed and then presented to her dressed and ready for company, so to speak, as my mother always was. As time went by, I began to realize that there was a lot more that was happening with my mother than simply a rich lifestyle. My father was killed when I was 5. He went hunting and was killed in an automobile accident on a hill. And my mother literally put me in charge of the family. She dismissed the servants and set about trying to figure out how to run my father's businesses. And I could feel the animosity coming from her. As time progressed and I became more aware of my own gifts and could look at soul memory and what had happened at the time of my birth, I realized that I was named Toni Petrinovich after my father because my mother wanted a boy for my father to continue the line and to give my father a hunting companion, a young hunting companion, along with his friends. When I was born and they became aware of the fact I was a girl, this was before the time when you knew ahead of time, my mother looked upon me as a child with great animosity and jealousy. So there was this feeling from her towards me that I was in so many respects taking her place in my father's eyes of devotion. As I grew up, and after I left home and came back for some visits, and I was in my late 20s, she and I went out to lunch, and we always had a fairly distant relationship, even though I attempted to make some sort of connection with her from time to time. And during this one lunch, she told me that she had always hated me, and that she wanted me to know that, which had been confirmed by some of her friends, etc. So this is sort of my childhood memories of mother in a nutshell, though there were some wonderful times, of course, and just like in any life, there are the ups and the downs. What I am telling you this story for, and I am relating it to this article, is that none of this is cast in stone. Those of you who know me, and those of you who experience me as a teacher, know that I do not come from a trauma-based mentality, nor do I exhibit that in my life. And what I am expressing this little story for and telling you about it, my main goal here is to show you that you can make a choice about how you are going to relate to your childhood. You can make a choice about how you are going to exhibit yourself in the world. And whether you are going to say, oh my gosh, look at all of these things that have happened to me. I am so traumatized, and every time someone comes near me, they'll be pushing on my wounds, and I don't know how to handle it all. Or you will be able to say, wow, what an experience that was, roller coaster ride. And here I am, I know myself. I am literally a master of my own destiny, and I am able to stand up and say, yes, I have had some very interesting experiences in my life, and I love my mother, deceased now, with all of my heart for her inability to express her love and the pain that that caused her, I am sure. Interestingly enough, after she died and I attended the funeral and I went home, that night I felt an energy wave coming up over my body from my toes up to the top of my chin, sort of like pulling a big velvet blanket up over me, and I knew that I had never experienced that feeling before. I didn't know what that energy was. And so when it stopped and I asked, as I do, ask about everything that is etheric so I can get some sort of handle on it, I suddenly realized that what I was feeling was motherly love. This is what it would feel like to have a mother love you. And it was my mother from the other side of the veil letting me know that she knew that I had not experienced that in this lifetime, and that she would like to acknowledge that and give it to me in that moment. So I offer you these words and this little tale of Toni, so to speak, so that you can look at your own life and say, well, you know, if she did it, so can I. There is nothing in your life that is so big or so traumatic or so monumental that you cannot see the gift in it and say, yes, it taught me how to love, it taught me how to absolve, it taught me how to hold a space of compassion and empathy for others, and not to get caught up and wound up in an idea or a belief system that says, since all of these things were done to me by these other quote-unquote bad people, that I have to walk around like a wounded animal and try and find someone to fix me. You are your own healer and wholer. You are the one who brings yourself into the whole resonant vibration of your mastery within your soul. No one else can truly do it for you. Anyone, including me, can point the way, can support you, can be your cheerleader, and yet the decision is always yours, ultimately, completely, infinitely, forever. So make a choice for harmony, make a choice for love and balance, make a choice to be the master of your own life. And thank all of those supporting actors in this great drama of this life that you are writing for yourself, the script, the play of your movie. Thank them for being the wonderful supporting actors that they are, so that you can learn that you are God in form and that you are in absolute control and command of your life, now and always.